Castrato.
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 Oh, Castrato.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what castrato is?
Nope.
Nope?
Like, what does castrato mean? Because
What do you think it means?
I don't know, because I know litrato in Filipino means picture.
So when you think of the word castrato, what did it sound
It's
like?
soprano?
Ah, okay. Search it up.
Castrato. Wow.
So you can't fathom that thought?
No.
Okay, go.
This might be shocking to know, but the weird phenomenon of boys singing like a girl in a very high-pitched voice are called castrato, and they're very popular in the 17th century. So what is it? How did it come about? And why is it considered queer in the modern-day context? First of all, castratos are not just boys who are blessed with the gift of a high-pitched voice. Their heavenly voices are actually produced through physical alterations. To be a castrato singer, boys have to be castrated before the age of 9 in his childhood to preserve the natural voice, keeping the voice in the soprano or contralto range. Because of the lack of testosterone, these boys never reach sexual maturity. Their bone joints, including their vocal cords, would not harden as the normal person. Operating through small, child-sized vocal cords, their voices were also extraordinarily flexible and quite different from the equivalent adult female voice. Therefore, their vocal range was higher than that of the uncastrated adult male. The beginning of castrato could be traced back to the later 16th century in Western Europe in the Church of Rome, when women were not allowed to participate in choirs.
Why is there a woman on the stage in a performance?
Exactly, I agree with you. This woman doesn't even deserve to be here. This theater is such a holy place. Women's role are just to stay at home and do all the cleaning work. Our job here is to entertain people. How could a woman entertain someone in this world? I think women should officially be banned from opera, from churches, from making speeches, or even from singing. Right? Do you guys agree?
Exactly. Should stay at home. And she doesn't have the right. This stage is for men.
The heck, it is not fair. I've been practicing singing for so long. Why I don't have the right to sing?
That's not fair. Yeah.
However, the high-pitched voice is required by polyphonic church music. One substitute of the high-pitched female singer is young boys. The problem is that as children grow up, the voices of boys will be deeper. So the heavenly voice of castrati soon let them dominate the Church of Italy. Then the time comes in the middle of the 17th century, when opera in Italy is very popular. This form of performance has quickly spread throughout European countries. Castrato then dominated the opera, reaching its peak in the middle of the 18th century. Even at the time, female singers are allowed to perform on the stage, due to the tremendous effects brought by the castrato. The public still goes for the high-pitched male voice, however. After reaching the peak, the enthusiasm for opera continuously decreases, while the requirement for castrato also reduces. The history of castrato finally ends in the middle of the 19th century. Castration has been made illegal in Italy eventually. History were made during this time, and songs were written just to accommodate and make use of this heavenly voice. Here is one of the only surviving recordings of a real castrato by the last castrato singer, Rossini, which incorporates a variety of ornamental phrases from this tradition's bel canto, including staccato, legato, and so forth. Here, you can notice that the lower part of the voice sounds like a super high tenor, with a more falsetto-like upper register above that. And that is the magic of castrati, and why it gained so much popularity at their time. But as these castrati belt out high notes and heavenly tones, they are not merely changing the world of music, but altering our perception of gender and the development of the idea of queer. Castrati were typically the fan favorite in operas, playing the male romantic heroes despite their more effeminate appearance. In fact, this gave rise to one sex model towards gender, where men and women are seen as the same, with the only difference being the genitalia being expressed physically outside or inside for men and women. Rather than seeing this black and white perception of gender, the castrato functioned as an ambiguous representation of gender expression. Scholars noting that castrati were called feminine male, perfect nymphs, and more beautiful than women themselves. The voice and body of castrato follows out of the framework of modern heteronormative desire. To some extent, castrato reconstructs manhood, making it depend less on the physical phallus and more on musical significations of power. In this case, through the arts and performance of the castrato. With the gender ambiguities present in men performing castrato, it is often discussed on the parallels between queerness with castrato. In the 17th and 18th centuries, words we use now to construct gender and or sexuality identities like gay, lesbian, queer, and heterosexual did not yet exist. Were the roles of castrati originally written to draw attention to gender identity, especially in the outlet of something as abstract as art performances? This may be the case, but there's no way to find out, given how castration is not allowed anymore in the modern days. Regardless, it gives us insight to understanding the perception of gender and its ambiguities in the past, which to the present day serves as a trailblazer to destabilize assumptions of gender and sex. Moreover, castrato shows the power of music can exceed the existing gender imaginations and challenge the rigid gender binary. Through delving into the history of castrato both from historical and current perspectives, we understand how beauty lies in the ambiguity of gender in the opera and music industry, and castrato has made music a safer place for queer, transgender, non-comforting artists to express themselves. As queerness has been, and still persists, naturally in the expression of identities through performances, arts, and cities, in the timeline of past, present, and future. Castrato is not just a way of singing, it is a way of life for centuries. It paved the way for gender ambiguity and freedom for expression. By understanding and appreciating castrato, we have learned to understand and appreciate the fluidity, ambiguity, and beauty that lies in queerness.
It's like he's trying to sound like more feminine, but it's like so obvious that it's like a male voice.
Just one? Oh, I heard like two voices on it. That's cool.
The voice is androgynous.
What are your immediate thoughts?
Sounds very angelic. It seems to be one of those sacred songs.
Is there anything odd or weird about what you just heard?
Sounds very high, but very low at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
From seeing who the person is singing, I was expecting that it's going to be lower, like the voice, but it surprised me how androgynous the voice was.
All right. Well, thank you for being the subject of our interview today.
Did you like it?
It sounds okay. It sounds very good.
Nice.
As sad as we are to see the disappearance of castrato, we have to be grateful for the questions towards gender it raised, and the identity and the ideas of ambiguity that it displaced. Looking into queerness and castrato, what have you learned? How has this affected your thinking of gender? And more importantly, how can we displace and embrace this idea of queerness with pride? Let us know soon. Thank you.